Hi, I'm Randy Wooden, and welcome to another in our Edge Library series. We're talking to military folks in transition and with some of the issues that they encounter. And in this segment, we'll address the stereotypes that, whether fairly or unfairly, some people in the private sector may have regarding military folks. So let's address a couple of those and talk about ways to structure your answer so hopefully as to overcome those concerns. Again, concerns may not be justified, but perception is someone's reality. And unless you can deal with it and knock it down, then you lose. So let's talk about this. Two things that, well, among others that come to mind, would be somebody coming from the military is very inflexible. They just don't, they're very regimented, not able to adapt to change. They just do as they are told specifically, and that they're robots and they go about their job. You know that is not the case. The employer may not have that same perception. And so a lot of times, certainly in the private sector, one of the things that we look for is somebody who's able to innovate, who's able to think on their feet, who's able to analyze the situation and to come up with results, a way to get things done. So, a way to structure your answer to alleviate those concerns, because they may have those, they may voice them and they may not. And if they don't voice them in the interview, I'd even suggest in some cases that you bring it up toward the end of the interview and say along the lines of, it's been my experience that some people may have concerns about people leaving the military in terms of being inflexible and not adaptable to change and innovative and that sort of thing. And I don't know that you share that concern, but I feel it's important for me to talk about it briefly if I could. And then you go into an example. And I mentioned in another segment about the STDs. The S is the strength or skill, the T is title and company where you did it, the D is to describe it. Another disease acronym that I could use is the SAR method of answering that concern. The SAR would be to describe a situation. What then were the activities that you undertook, and what were the results? So the situation, the activity, and the results. And so if someone says you're inflexible, or they have that concern about your adaptability to change and being innovative and that sort of thing, then cushion the answer first of all by saying, I can appreciate your concern, or I understand why you'd asked, or I've been asked that before, or I probably wonder the same thing if I were in your shoes. And then that's the cushion. It gives you a little time to think and sort of drops their defenses. And then go into that SAR or STD answer and make it up as I go. But inflexible, I understand where you're coming from. I've been asked that before. Let me tell you about a situation that happened when I was in the Army. And then you describe the situation and how it was important that you and your team were able to be flexible because the original plan that you had, you could see was not going to work. And thanks to your training, your ability to work under tight deadlines and under pressure, you're able to be innovative, to still get the job done, but the way that you got it done wasn't necessarily the way it was drawn up in the playbook. That's a good way to handle that. Another one that comes up from time to time is, we've all read and heard about these $600 toilet seats and all the waste and such that is in the military, and sometimes military gets a bad rap for that. But the reality is that the military is run very much like a business, and there are accountabilities in place, and so you've got to be mindful of that. And I think you need to convey that to your employer, that while you can understand that the stereotype is what it is, and yes, there are times where you've got the $600 toilet seats or hammers or whatever, but on a day-to-day basis, mine was a job. And just as you're an employer, I have to be accountable for not only for the people under my control or under my leadership, but also our material. And whether it's working within budgets, that sort of thing, we're accountable. And so while in the one case I wear a uniform, and in this case I wouldn't for you, the same skills, the same accountabilities exist in the old saying, doing more with less. We're no different. So you come up with the STD or the SAR method, STD or SAR, S-A-R, and then that can put the framework around the answer to address the concerns about someone in the military. I hope this was of some help to you. We can't address every single possible question you'll be faced with, but I wanted to give you some guidance and equip you with the tools and the framework to be able to think through the answer in a logical way. I'm Randy Wooden. Thanks for watching.